Welcome back to the channel. We're at the end of September. Fall is here. We've got a few tomatoes coming on still, and we've got a lot that are no good, bug ridden and cold damaged, just no good and squishy. So don't throw those tomatoes out. There is many uses for them. As we're approaching the end of summer, you can use all of those tomatoes coming in the greenhouse here. We are going to jump right into this and save some tomato seeds. We've still got a lot of tomatoes to eat outside the greenhouse, but most of them look pretty shoddy like the ones we were showing you. We're finding a few here and there, but a lot of them are cold damaged, bug damaged, and weather damaged. So we don't have a whole lot of harvest left from outside the greenhouse, but we do have a ton growing inside the greenhouse, and we've got little heirlooms coming on and more flowers. So we're leaving all of these heirlooms so we can continue to harvest from these as long as we possibly can, just as an experiment. All those bug damaged and moisture cracked tomatoes can still be used, and we are able to save the next season seeds just from all of those waste tomatoes. We really only grow heirloom variety tomatoes like this mortgage lifter here. These two mortgage lifters that came out of the greenhouse, nice beautiful tomatoes there. And heirloom just means that they are going to stay true to the seed, and every year they will keep producing the same plant on an open pollination system. So open pollinator means that they are open pollinated as nature intended, and we are having bugs, bees, birds, all insects, butterflies, human interaction, anything can pollinate these from an outside source. By saving the seeds from one single tomato, you can have enough to have your whole entire next season's crop just from this one tomato. So jumping right into the actual seed saving part of this, by using water and being in contact and submerged in water, we're able to break the bonds of the enzyme that is an anti-sprout enzyme that basically stops your tomato from sprouting prematurely. So we're able to break the bonds unnaturally by putting them in a jar and mixing them with water. Now, how do we get the tomato seeds from being in the tomato to in a jar? Well, we're going to show that right now. So we've got a nice clean, non-chlorinated bucket of water here, and you can literally just take your tomato. This one is split and has some cracks. So we're gonna take our tomato and just squeeze it right into this water, and we're going to break it up. And once we've got all the insides out of the inside of the tomato, and we feel like we've got most of the seeds out, there is not many seeds, maybe 1, 2 seeds left in there. This tomato here is still able to be processed if we cut all the impurities and bug bites off, and we're able to eat this tomato, or we're able to feed it to our chickens or compost it, whatever we decide to do with it. But if they're still good, we usually try and can them and save them. There is blanching. There's a lot of ways to store tomatoes. You can dry them out and make a tomato paste powder with them. There's a multitude of uses for all of these tomatoes when you have an abundance. So checking out this concoction here, you've got your seeds and all the mixture in there. Now you can go through and sift these out and clean up the seeds a bit, but they're going to be encased in that enzyme, basically sealed in that little gel packet. So after about 2 or 3 days in this jar of water is when that actual enzyme packet breaks. So we're basically fermenting these tomato seeds in water in a sealed jar. We have to burp these daily. You really only need to have these in the jar for 2 to 3 days, and then they're ready to be cleaned, strained, and dried. So jumping back to our mixture here, we've got our tomato seeds mixed in water. So you can basically just take this and you will pour it right into a jar. So I've got this experimental jar, and I wanted to side note this here. So I've been using this little jar and a balloon, and I've kind of been, it's got a little smiley face on the balloon. So I've been making my own little fermenting jars, experimenting, and if I find that they're having any more success, that I don't have to burp these. So I'm trying to make it so I can have a dozen jars going like all these at the same time, where the balloon will fill up and I don't have to come burp them until the end when I'm ready to harvest the seed. So going from the mixture, getting poured into a jar, they have to sit for 2 or 3 days like we said, and then after 2 or 3 days you have a mixture where the bonds are broken and you have fermented the seeds and they're ready to be strained out. So I'm not actually going to do this in the greenhouse because I don't have my sink set up, but we take this large strainer here and we'll take that, pour all of these fermented seeds through there. This jar has been sitting and the lid is actually bulge out because it is fermenting, and that's why we have this gas system where it's able to vent a little bit and have a little bit of expansion. So we use this sifter to clean all of the seeds. They go through here, we rinse them in cool water, clean all of the debris from the tomatoes out. So we'll throw these right onto a paper towel, and then we just let them sit in the greenhouse or a dry area like a drying box or something, or a windowsill works great as long as it doesn't get any moisture to it. Saving those seeds to the point where you're able to use them and viably grow them next year is not hard at all, because you don't technically have to ferment these. They will regrow on their own. That little anti-sprout packet is going to ferment and break down on its own, and if it's cold enough, those seeds will basically hibernate and they'll germinate right back up next year. So you really don't have to do anything. You can kind of treat these as a self-seeding annual. People don't like to think of tomatoes like that because everybody saves all the different varieties, but we save all these seeds so we can do our farmers market and we can plant 500, 600, 700 tomatoes of one variety in the springtime. So we're able to save all these seeds and profit from it, and we're able to put those seeds into the next generation. Every generation we save, we're continually saving all those seeds, so we never really have to buy any tomato seeds unless we're adding a new variety. So getting to a dry, hairy tomato seed that you know is going to grow and has been fermented properly is very, very simple, and it just requires a few key details. You want to use clean, dechlorinated water. You want to ferment them if you're going to save a lot of seeds at once, and you don't want to have to clean them and peel them apart from each other, because all of those little sacs, once they ferment and dry, they stick together like glue, so you'll have 2, 3, 4 seeds all stuck in one, looking like one seed. So you have to burp these jars every day because they do build up gases and they will rot on you, so you don't want to over ferment these. And another main factor is the temperature. The warmer it is, you might be able to do this in the greenhouse if it's 80 degrees in 1 or 2 days. Very, very simple, and the temperature definitely directly correlates to how fast these ferment. If you have a cooler setting, you may have a whole week before these actually ferment and you can harvest those seeds. So this is just one more way that we ensure nothing gets wasted. We save all of these tomatoes and we will use them any way we can, and we try to keep everything out of the compost. And we've been experimenting with a whole lot of different ideas, like this little burping jar here, just to get the seeds so I don't have to come out and burp all these jars every day, so we can get the whole process of fermentation done with one burp, and then we just basically harvest them, so it's a lot less work. Just trying to streamline this process. If anybody's got any questions on saving these tomato seeds, we've been doing it for quite a few years now, and it is very, very simple once you learn the process. I'd like to thank everybody for watching, and if anybody has any questions, you know where to drop